Welcome back. Our research analysts at the financial derivatives company are anticipating a drop in the headline inflation to 12.7% this month, the lowest level since March 2016. This is mainly attributed to the waning base year effect. And for details, I'm being joined by one of the research analysts with financial derivatives company, Tope Olubile. Hello, Tope. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, Chimeze. Thank you for having me.
Now, in your inflation forecast for this month, you anticipate a drop. However, the food basket has witnessed some price increases this month. Isn't this a contradiction to your projection?
Okay, yes. Like you rightly said, we are projecting that inflation will decline for the 15th consecutive month and to 12.7%. However, this projection is for the month of April and it is a headline inflation forecast, which means we are comparing April 2017 prices to April 2018 prices. If you look at month-on-month inflation, we are projecting month-on-month inflation, which gives a more updated picture of current market prices. We are projecting that it would increase from 0.84% in March to 1.03% in April. And we've already started seeing food items increase, prices of food items increase, food items like rice, beans, and yam. And this increase is being driven by the commencement of the planting season and the sharp increase in diesel prices, which is what is used to power the trucks that transport these food items. So in the coming months, we expect that this increase would persist because planting season is not due to end till like September. And if all goes according to plan, the 2018 budget will be passed in the next few weeks. And there's also the issue of the minimum wage, which we are expecting will be approved soon. And all of this would increase our naira liquidity and increase demand and ultimately increase food prices.
Okay, so Ramadan fast is for 30 days, with most Muslims embarking on the fast. What do you think will happen to food and commodity prices in the month of May?
Okay, so Ramadan fast is set to begin next week, and like you said, will last for about a month. And during this period, Muslims typically eat two meals a day, one before sunrise and one when they're breaking the fast. And what we've noticed is that historically there's increased demand for most food items during this period because there's increased alms giving and increased joint breaking of fast. And so while demand is increasing on that side, supply is also reducing because, like we said, planting season has commenced. So some food items are not readily available again. And so both of these happening concurrently is bound to increase food prices in the coming months. And so while we're projecting that inflation will decline to 12.7%, in April, we believe that inflation rates are reaching their inflection point and are likely to reverse in the coming months.
Okay, and we've seen the price of oil go above $75 per barrel, and petrol is selling for $3 per gallon in the US. Do you think that we are likely to see an increase in the pump up price of petrol and other refined products in Nigeria soon?
Okay, so the last time pump price of petrol was reviewed in Nigeria was in 2016 when it was increased from 87 naira per liter to its current price 145 naira per liter. But in the space of the 2 years, some key fundamentals have changed. Exchange rate has depreciated from 200 naira against the dollar to about 362 naira against the dollar. Oil prices have increased from $40 per barrel to about $75 per barrel now. And so landing cost, the cost of bringing in this refined products have also increased and it's really discouraging for oil marketers. So presently, the government is faced with three options. One, it could either increase the pump price to reflect the increase in landing cost. Two, it could increase the subsidies offered to these marketers, which would deplete the money available for other uses. And three, it could do nothing. They could do nothing, which would ultimately bring back fuel queues and scarcity. And so, because we are currently in a pre-election period, all of these options have political implications. we believe that the most likely and the most favorable option that the government should explore is to increase the subsidies it offers all marketers.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Tokbe. Tokbe
Thank you.
Olumile is one of the research analysts with Financial Derivatives Company here in Lagos. We move on now. The International Monetary Fund says Burkina Faso's economy is on track to grow by around 6% this year, in line with the last 2 years' average. The West African nation, which agreed a program with the fund in March, will meanwhile aim to reduce its fiscal deficit to 3% of GDP by 2019 after it ballooned to an unprecedented 7.7% last year. And Sudan is in talks with Saudi Arabia for an oil aid agreement that would have the kingdom supply its oil needs for 5 years on credit. The deal would provide about 1.8 million tons of oil per year to Sudan, which has been hit in recent months by fuel shortages that have forced people to queue at gas stations for hours. The final agreement is expected to be signed within days. Anglo Gold Ashanti remains on track to meet its production targets for 2018 and is in talks with the Tanzanian government regarding policy moves to boost government stakes in mining assets and tax hikes. Tanzania, Africa's fourth largest gold producer, is seeking to reap more profits from its vast mineral resources by overhauling the fiscal and regulatory regime of its mining sector. But the moves have alarmed companies and investors. On the new regulations the mining ministry passed in January, Tanzania will now make it compulsory for foreign-owned mining groups to offer shares to the government and local companies. The company said it's on track to meet its annual production forecast of between 3.325 and 3.45 million ounces for 2018 after producing 824,000 ounces in the quarter to the end of March, down slightly from 830,000 ounces in the same period last year. And even by its own standards, Ethiopian Airlines' recent growth has been fast, so fast that it revised the ambitious 15-year strategy set in 2010 and plans to buy more planes to step up its expansion. Its plans had been to more than double its fleet to 120 and become Africa's biggest airline by 2025. But it already has 100 planes flying to dozens of destinations from Asia to South Africa, including 4 U.S. cities. The state-owned carrier has also outpaced regional competitors Kenya Airways and South African Airways to become Africa's largest airline by revenue and profits. That's according to the International Air Transport Association. It now plans to place orders this year for 13 additional Boeing 787 jets and 6 more Airbus A350s. The airline has come a long way from when it was established in 1945 as a joint venture with new defunct U.S. carrier Trans World Airlines. In its 2016-2017 financial year, Ethiopian Airlines generated $2.7 billion in revenue, up more than 11% from the previous year. And that's a wrap on today's show. Thank you very much for being part of it. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwagu.